Bill Reed, former head of the National Hurricane Center, joins us now by phone from League City, Texas. Bill, thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, League City, correct me if I'm wrong, is not far from Dickinson, Texas. I spent some time down there about a week ago covering that area. What are the major concerns now for Florida when you're looking at these pictures and you're hearing these stories of this dangerous wind right here and also storm surge?
Well, yeah, the number one concern I have right now is how bad is the storm surge going to be in the area from Marco Island up through Fort Myers and Cape Coral immediately with the passage of this storm, and then further north later tonight and early tomorrow, especially if people chose not to evacuate who are ordered to do so.
You know, the National Atlantic Ops, the National Hurricane Center is also saying that the water levels are beginning to rise in Naples. It's going to rise rapidly in Marco Island. Naples, after the passage of the eye, moves away from the water. At this point, what is the big concern that you worry about when it comes to this moment in the storm?
Well, that is it. That the water will have caught people who didn't leave there, and we know what happens in areas that get severe flooding in a hurry where people are trapped in there. We end up losing lives, so that's going to be a worry.
And, you know, I think the biggest fear now is that some people would let their guards down, being that it's not as bad as I think we were all predicting it to be because of the system sort of taking a turn, left turn. Of course, that's what we get when we cover hurricanes. It's still in that situation to where it's very dangerous and very deadly because of storm surge, because of floods, because of possible pop-up tornadoes. What is the biggest danger right now? What's the biggest threat in moving forward?
Well, we talked about the storm surge. The other aspect is we're getting at least gust to hurricane force pretty much the entire width of the state as it goes up, and that'll probably continue for some time tonight, even though the storm is forecast to weaken. So you have a lot of power outages, and you have trees down, and the farther north you go into Florida, it's heavily forested, so the widespread loss of power and trees down is another concern.
And Bill, I spent some time there in Florida working for one of the local stations in Miami. I know how Floridians think. Some are probably watching these pictures are saying that I could have stayed home, you know, looking at these pictures here. It was a good thing to evacuate everyone.
Certainly from the evacuation zones where the storm surge is the worst, the threat of a major hurricane coming in with a large storm surge in a heavily populated area. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to get all these people out of there, so the warnings and advisories on evacuation have to be done before we're certain of exactly what the impact will be. I try to remind people that in your lifetime in a hurricane-prone area, you might be ordered to leave 3 or 4 times, and maybe 2 or 3 of those, nothing really happens that you consider all that major, but the other time your house gets destroyed. Trouble is, I can't tell you in advance which storm that's going to be.
Yeah, it's a great point. And a lot of times people think it's just a Florida and a Texas problem. We know the storm's going to make its way up. There are already emergency alert for Georgia. We're concerned about possibly Tennessee as well. What do you say to those folks as the storm makes its way up the state of Florida?
Well, if you take common sense precautions, the kind of impact you're going to have, which is locally heavy rain with localized flooding in flood-prone areas, and enough squally weather with the winds to maybe have some tree damage and some power outages. But if you take the common sense precautions of staying in and out of the weather, you should weather it just fine.
All right, Bill Reed, you are the expert. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight and expertise.
Thank you.